It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Friday, September 27th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content. I think Sam Erson's in pretty good game shape.
Yeah, you look really good.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. You could find me on Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here as always with Russ Cohen, who's on all your favorite social media apps at Sportsology. We are at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter as well. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit fanduel.com to get started. You can find us over on YouTube or on the SiriusXM app or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to get our latest episode as soon as it's available here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are going to dig into that game last night against the New York Islanders. So some really good takeaways from that one, both I think positive and needs attention. But I think the other thing that really needs attention is we have an Alexei Kolosov update here where he is coming over and they have made some sort of agreement that he's going to get some playing time and see what happens and come up with some sort of agreement if he's not like either going to make the Flyers or have some sort of guarantee that he's first call up, right?
Yeah, it just seems like he's agreed to come over and he'll see if he likes it, see if they like him, and if not, they'll probably just let him go over back for the year and toll the contract. They have too many goalies right now. So I think they're just gonna, see how that part works out. I know people think like instantly. I've gotten some people that thought maybe that, you could put a goalie on loan, but it's right now everybody's got a goalie. Nobody's hurt. So there's no real loan to make. So, they're it's an interesting thing. And then, of course, one announcement's going to work its way into another because I had told you that basically about the Johansson thing that they were going to wait until there was a little bit of disruption with the team. And sure enough, the next day, there it is.
Yep. And that does lead to our other news of the day. The NHL Players Association officially filed the grievance against the Flyers in the Johansson contract situation. And, I think that clearly they have to resolve it by October 7th at 5 p.m. when the rosters are due to the league, because there's no other way around it, whether they have
Well,
some
it might not,
settlement
though.
deal.
It might not.
It might not, but I feel like that's the finish line here that we're working toward.
Well, it's only the finish line if both sides can come to an agreement. But like, let's say the Flyers say we're not taking back any money. Well, then it's going to go for a while because then it might even go to an arbitrator. Who knows? If they say yeah, we'll take half the cap hit back, then they probably can get it done by that date. But then instead of $3.1 million, then you're talking about having 800,000 or less, and then again, that will cause problems during the year. So, one way or another, it'll get resolved, but the Flyers cap situation is going to be tight this year unless they win this case outright, which I don't think will happen.
Yeah, I think, chances are pretty decent. I'm not saying high, but decent that they'll be able to negotiate something to avoid the cap
Yes.
hit.
Oh, no,
You're
I don't think
gonna,
they're going to be able to avoid the cap hit.
I do.
Yeah.
I think that they'll pay him out and avoid the cap hit, but
But you
I don't
can't.
know.
Like if you pay him, some of it has to go to the cap. It's
I
part of
guess
the team.
that's the question.
There is no cap avoidance right now since the Flyers voided it. Yes, it's not on the cap. But if they reinstate it and eat half, that's what they would have to do. Then they would have to be responsible for half the cap.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes over the next probably couple weeks. In the meantime, the Flyers did play versus the New York Islanders last night. We had said we wanted Brad Shaw behind the bench. We got Rocky Thompson, but it was definitely one of the assistants. We knew that was going to be the case. It was really interesting, if you looked at yesterday's or the practice lines from the day before, right? Where they were kind of having the Flyers group and the Phantoms group. So you look at a more complete Flyers group, but knowing this was going to be a mix in the lineup,
Right.
the fact that Luchenko was put in there kind of in lieu of Couturier, right?
Yeah, but I just think they're resting Couturier. I don't think there's anything to read into. And actually,
Totally, but I thought it was interesting that that's kind of how they did it with Luch,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's fine. I mean, again, they're giving him his experience run, and then it's going to stop, and he's going to get sent back. Like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, how do you think he played in this game?
Think he was okay. He got pushed around a little bit. He's offense.
Yeah,
He really couldn't do much. He got maybe one shot near the net. Uh, this was a game where, look, it wasn't the full Islanders team, but they still were playing four guys up at the red line.
yep.
So by doing that, that was going to test somebody like Luchenko much more than even a Michkov because he's not used to that. And he's got to muscle his way through where Michkov rather, is used to kind of going around. They don't play that way in the KHL, but he could still go around players easier than Luchenko can. So it was a harder game for Jet.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's really good experience for him
Oh,
to see
absolutely.
this because the Islanders were playing kind of a high pressure game
They were.
here, like pushing a lot, and
Yes.
so I think for some of the younger guys, it was a really good game for them to play in. I'd say equally as good for Emil Andre to play in this game,
Yeah.
and some of the other guys as well. But want to talk Matvei Michkov because he got his first preseason goal, empty
Yeah.
netter, but I'll take it any day of the week. Especially because the effort he made throughout the entire game. I think
Yeah.
you know, the first point being he had gotten some criticism, and rightfully so, about not getting, shots on goal in his previous outing. He took whole bunch of shots this game.
He did. Some hit, some didn't. He still was missing the
Yeah,
net. Like he has to work on it, but he did shoot more, so he
sure.
got the message, and that's good. On TV they overdid the pass. The pass was very nice, but Farabee, Frost,
We had
PK.
multiple really lovely
No, I know,
passes.
but I'm saying they can make that pass too. You don't need to say that's incredible vision on that pass. That's an NHL pass, but it's a good pass. So, it was nice. He did get pushed around a bit. He did struggle a bit in the corners, like you saw that. So that was
Mhm.
also something he had to sort of fight through. And you could see he is
Yeah.
worn out after games because he gives full effort and he's just worn out. Uh, Now, as far as the team, I really don't want to hear about Torts' skates anymore because, like I said, Patrick Waugh had his team skating just the same way. So if some Flyers look tired, it's because they're tired. It's not because of anything that happened 2-3 days ago. Um, the defense did not look good most of this game. Like actually, Ersson really saved them to the point where
Saved
they
them.
they could have given up 3 goals in 2 periods easy.
Yeah, that was like, I think, kind of the stat of the game for me. The Flyers had 23 giveaways in this game.
Yeah.
Most of them were in front of the net.
I'm going to tell you, there was one non-NHL player on that ice, and that's Nick Delorier. Every time he tried to take the puck up the ice, the Islanders stole it. It was just ridiculous. So if he's actually going to play games, you literally have to play him 5 minutes. And that's just to skate around with Michkov a couple times and maybe one penalty kill. But his skating is
Yeah.
so bad now.
Yeah, it was very glaringly obvious to me that that's what was happening here. I think that's going to be, an issue to put a pin in and see what happens over the next couple of games, and if he
Yeah.
gets, more or less ice time or is in the preseason games at all moving forward. But
Like
I think,
Hathaway's a superstar compared to him. It's all
yeah.
relative, but
Well,
he is.
Hathaway's a very skilled fourth liner,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
But I think that it wasn't, just him that was struggling. I
No.
think that Adam Yinning, I felt so bad for him. He had a rough time
Yeah,
in
he had
this
a rough
game.
game. Yeah, he definitely had a rough game. I'm not sure Cam York had a very good game. And, they're talking about all the weight that he put on because he loses 10 pounds a game. Something's going to give here with Cam York. Like, if you're going to play him that many minutes a game and he's got to gain that much weight because he's losing that much weight, there is a happy medium here that they're going to have to reach with him. And, some guys, like you remember Braden Coburn, they just couldn't put on weight. Just couldn't. He never really did. Didn't make him less strong, didn't make him less of a good skater, even though today's standards is different. But you get my drift.
Yeah,
This
I
just may
do think
be
though
the way
he
it
had the
is for
right
Europe.
amount. He had the right amount of ice time in this game. I mean, it was just shy
Oh, no, in
of
this game,
21
yes.
minutes.
Right. But if he's going to start averaging 22, 23 on a top pairing, you're now pushing him to a point where he may not be able to be pushed. And the team has
Yeah.
to recognize that.
Well, hopefully Travis Sanheim is correct when he said, in his media availability that given who they have now, they're able to even out the minutes more and they won't be putting an extra burden like that on the top pairing. But
It's great, but Travis isn't the coach, and I've seen the coach pile on the minutes when he deems necessary, and we know that happens.
well, I think, again, remains to be seen as we move forward here. But I do think they do have the personnel to do it this season to
Well,
even
they'll
out
have
the
8
minutes a lot
defensemen
more.
probably, so they should.
Right. So
You didn't
Sam,
even bite at that. You're just
nope,
like, right.
I'm not.
That's fine.
Look, we know it's a possibility, so it's not like a joke
I know.
anymore. It's like an actuality, and that will help on that situation.
It
So,
would.
um, but I think one of the other interesting aspects of the game was that Emil Andre and Jet Luchenko got PK time.
Yeah.
It was really good for them to get that, especially against this Islanders team that were pushing.
Yeah, I thought Andre looked good. I liked a lot of
Yeah,
shifts that he had. I felt like I mean, again, and I think this is just unfair. Um, he's scrappy enough and he's strong enough that he can handle the other game parts of this game, and I feel like he did.
yeah. I think so too. I was pretty impressed by him throughout the game. We're going to talk more about this game versus the Islanders, and we're going to look ahead to the game against the Bruins. We're going to do all that coming up next.
Sorry, there's a fly, motherfucker. All right,
Mm.
I was lining them up. How do I have a fly in October? Anyhow, except late September. We're driven. Sorry, I'll start now. We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't a search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. One of the things I love about Indeed is that it makes hiring all in one place so easy because you could avoid all that busy work. I use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with other candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply.
Some of the best concerts of the year take place in the fall, and it's my favorite time to head to a show. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for those live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. My favorite part of the Gametime app is that it's great for getting notified about last minute flash deals and super deals so that you know you're getting the best bang for your buck. Best of all, they have all-in pricing, so there's no surprise fees at checkout when you activate the feature. Also, your tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through email. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. On Monday's show, we will recap the game against the Bruins that we're about to talk about. Plus, we'll give any training camp updates. And it's Monday, so we will have our nemesis of the week. Continuing our discussion about last night's game versus the Islanders, I think one of the things I noticed, especially earlier in the game, I think it improved as the game went on, but they weren't getting like rush attempts
No.
early in the game, despite having guys who are good on the rush out there, right? It took them a little while to warm up to that in this one.
Yeah, Tippett was like the one that broke through on that. So that
Mhm.
part was good, and he was getting some shots on that, but it did take a while because they were just standing him up or getting the puck away from him. I mean, the Islanders were not, great offensively, although the Russian that we talked about yesterday did actually do pretty well. I was
Yeah.
in conversation with a few of the Islander writers about him. But, as a whole, you're right. And I mean, that first period was rough. It just was. It got better after that,
Yeah.
and probably mid-second, something like that, started looking a little better,
Thereabouts. Yeah.
yeah, and so, yeah, that took a little while, so they figured that part out, and, yeah, like I said, Ersson was just, the big force there for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously he was the biggest factor in that game.
Yes.
Looked like he was in mid-season form with multiple stops. The relief on his body expression at the end of it was palpable. He
Oh,
just
yeah.
like kind of collapsed for a second
Yeah,
and
because
then
even at the end of
skated
the
off.
game, I mean, the Islanders were
Yeah.
were close to scoring again, so, yeah. Yeah, he had to put out a big effort.
Yeah, I think, we did see the Flyers power play, but just once in this game. Very few penalties in this one.
Yeah,
So I don't think, even though we said, we wanted to see some stuff from the power play, I don't think it's fair to judge them on one power play attempt in this game. I think, it took again them a little bit of time to warm up as a unit because they weren't really used to playing together
right.
because it was a slightly different mix. But they got a couple of good attempts in, but nothing going. But again, it was just the one power play. So I don't
Yeah,
want
I'm
to
not
like,
gonna get crazy about it, it's fine.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, the Flyers' next preseason game is against the Boston Bruins, which is taking place on Saturday night. And I think, as far as the lineup, I think we're going to see something similar, but maybe with different lines out there. I do think we'll see Couturier out there.
Yeah,
I'm
he'll be
curious
in.
if you think there's gonna be any back-to-back guys that we saw versus the Islanders that'll be back against the Bruins.
They may even let Luchenko go back to back because I have a feeling after that they may send him back. So wouldn't shock me if they have him go back to back. I don't think they'll do Michkov back to back. I think they'll switch up the D like uh
Yeah.
Zamula will get in and Ristolainen will get in, and so yeah, I don't think they're gonna put Johnson back to back. So I think really Luchenko may be the only guy they go back to back.
Yeah, I think, yeah, maybe Emil Andre gets another game.
Maybe.
I think of the defensemen, he's the one that has the most potential
Yeah,
to
to
play
make it.
another game. But, yeah, I think it'll be pretty much the opposite, roster in terms of
Yeah,
the Flyers' top lines, etcetera. But
I agree.
on the Bruin side of things, obviously the biggest issue there is the Jeremy Swayman contract, right?
Yep, he's still out there. He's not gonna be there till he gets paid, so Flyers won't see him.
Yeah, so the Bruins played at the same time as the Flyers and Islanders did, and lost to the New York Rangers 5-2. I think we're going to see Corpusalo in net because he did not play in that
Okay.
game.
Yeah, and he's an NHL goalie, so
Yep. Yep. Brad Marchand practiced for the first time in a non-contact jersey. I don't think we'll see him, but maybe they may wait
yeah,
till they're back home before they put him in.
I
But
think it's hard to imagine Marchand in a non-contact as he probably still mouths off.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's Brad.
Yeah,
Um,
No doubt.
The Elias Lindholm injury is still plaguing him. He's been day to day. They're not changing that status.
No, they're not
But
going to risk playing him.
no, I mean, they're definitely not playing him. They've already said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, it's curious that they're keeping the status as day to day instead of, despite the fact that it's been like a week, right?
Yeah, I think this is their way of saying, all right, look, this guy, we just got him. His offense wasn't great last year. His defense is really good. We're not going to rush him into preseason games. We're not going to, risk getting him hurt. He's too important to the team. He really is. Down the middle, they really need him.
Yep, they do. And I think we'll see Hampus Lindholm and Brandon Carlo out there because they did not play against
Yeah.
the Rangers. Charlie Coyle didn't play against the Rangers, so we'll probably see
Yeah, he'll
him.
play.
The only thing I can think is that maybe Geeky will play back to back because he didn't play with his regular line mates in the game
That's
against the
possible.
Rangers. So they might put him in with his regular guys. But I think the Bruins are interesting because they don't really have a big prospect pool to speak of right now.
Well, I mean, Fabian Lysell is a good prospect.
That's it, pretty much, right?
And they put a lot of pressure on him. I mean, Farinacci's still a prospect. I mean, he's played a
Yeah.
lot of AHL games, but he hasn't really broken through. So he's on the edge of being it. Trevor Kuntar is a prospect still, and he could skate and be like a good fourth line type. Like he's feisty. So it would be interesting to see if Kuntar can do something here. So yeah, they're not all A guys, and Poitras is definitely a prospect. He only played half a season last
Right.
year. Yeah. And
Yeah.
he was really good. Like he can look really impressive, and Pasternak's going to score. Like, just get used to it, folks. He's scoring
Yeah,
preseason
I
or
don't know if
otherwise. He just
we'll
is.
see him or
If we
not
don't see
just
him, he won't
because
score. That's the only way.
right, because that line played last night.
Okay,
So I don't know if we'll see them
but they
or
still
not.
have like 3 or 4 prospects in there.
Yeah,
They're
I think
not all A prospects. That's the thing.
I think it's like Fabian Lisau that's like the big
He's the A. Yeah.
guy. His first game was not great. He did better against the Caps. Um, I think that we will see him in this game against the Flyers. So I think he's just somebody to keep an eye out for in that game.
Yeah. It's funny. Like Farinacci's been around a bit. He's only 23 though.
I don't know, but the Bruins, I think, are a fascinating case study this
Oh yeah.
season, and so it'll be fun to see, what they're trying out in this preseason game. In the meantime, it's the end of the week, so we are going to just take a look at the week that was and what is top of mind in the Flyers' brains these days, and we'll get to that coming up next.
Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Again, I would go with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets over the Denver Broncos. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com.
All right. Looking back at this week, I think, there weren't really a lot of ups and downs. It was a pretty steady week. We
Yeah,
said there could be some ups and downs, and sure enough, they did pop up over the last day or so. But and that's of course the Kolosov situation and the Johansson situation. But I think at least for me, top of mind is can the Alexei Kolosov relationship be healed enough to the point where there's good feeling on both sides, regardless of the outcome. And the Flyers don't really get dinged for having a bad relationship with prospects.
I mean, I think there's a chance. I mean, since he's coming, there's a chance. Beyond that, I don't know.
Yeah, I just I think that's really important for the Flyers to put forth, give him all the opportunities that he needs, but also, do what's best for the team and just
Right.
have it be a fair process. And I think
Yeah.
that's all we can ask for there. I think, Johansson's another situation. I want to like put that off till next week. Maybe
Mhm.
talk about that on the nemesis thing. But my other kind of top thought is, man, I love watching Matvei Michkov play, and he's going to be fine, and that makes me so happy right
Yeah,
now.
of course he's gonna be fine. Just again, I'm still going with my 50 points. I think right now that's a safe bet for him.
Do you have anything in your kind of top of mind with the Flyers this week?
Yeah, I mean, I would say good for Urson that, that helps a little bit. Fedotov still needs some work, so that's going to be interesting to see like what he continues to look like. It's too early to see how he's really going to be. Uh, Still don't love the situation of John not coaching any of these games until the last two. So I still feel like there's a lot of fool's gold out there as far as coaching goes. Um, but otherwise, yeah, I'll say that, Flyers in game, everything was great. They were in regular season form. The Goudreau stuff was terrific. So they did a great job. Lou did a great job. They all did. So, as far as the game presentation, still top notch. They really did a nice job. Even in preseason, I would see in previous years where in preseason there might be a mistake here, some things that they ran pretty flawlessly when I was there. So,
Yeah, that's really good to hear. And I think, we always say good things about the game presentation team and the marketing team with this stuff because they've earned it. And they're award winning to prove it. So,
now,
uh,
the press box says hot dogs. That was a big deal. I don't eat hot dogs, so I only eat like veggie dogs. So, but still, big deal. A lot of people went crazy over that. I tried that Mike's mustard that you see all the commercials. It's like it would be fourth place mustard. Gouldens would still be in first for the brown stuff, and anything else in between. Like Mike's not even close, but
yeah. Well,
everything else was great.
I don't like mustard at all. So,
Wow.
but I think it's fine if other people do. It's just not my
Well, yellow
thing.
mustard is garbage. I'll just come out and say it. Yellow mustard is
All
garbage.
right.
I went to a game in like Wrigley, and I got a veggie dog, and you could not find brown mustard. I don't care if you have yellow, but when yellow is the only option, horrible. That's all.
Noted for the next barbecue. I invite you
There you go.
to
Thank you.
Russ. um, as far as like other thoughts I have about this team overall, I think it's been really interesting how they've run the camp in terms
Uh huh.
of what they're working on, who they're putting together, how they're mixing and matching things. And I really think they're doing a good job of trying different things, trying different combinations and working on different aspects of the game and seeing what clicks. And sometimes I've seen them in the past get kind of mired in this, going with what they know and not being willing to change things up a bit. But I really have seen that in this camp, that it feels like they're trying to like gives a little bit more variety and keep people on their toes. And I think that was part of, the overall mission that Tortorella was talking about, that about not getting complacent. And I think that has kind of shown itself in practice and in these games.
Yeah, I think that part has shown itself. Schematically, I think that's okay. I think, although, like I said, I think defense just wasn't great tonight. But the only thing is, though, what was out of character, and again, this is where I say it's fool's gold when you put someone like Rocky Thompson behind the bench. The Flyers only had 9 hits. Maybe, well, that was like late in the third. They may have gotten a few more late, but they weren't hitting anybody. And that's
No,
not like
that
them.
is true.
And I don't, so that's what I have to chalk up to like this coach, but it won't be with the other coach. You know what I mean? So it's like, I can't even really comment on it other than
Yeah,
that.
they wound up with 15 by the end of the game. The Islanders had
Yeah,
17.
but that's because
So
they were trying to keep him out of the crease when they had the man advantage.
yeah. Yeah, I guess so. It's just I do think I mean, I noticed early in the game because it was with the giveaways and the hits.
Yes.
I noticed that like in tandem that they weren't creating takeaways either because they
Right.
weren't hitting.
Right.
So that was kind of at an imbalance. And I think that's something to keep an eye on
Yeah.
as well, just to improve upon for a future game. But I'm not like overall worried about that
No, me neither.
because they're going to start hitting and blocking a lot of
It's just
shots
something I noticed.
again.
Yeah, that they didn't block anything tonight. That's how you knew it was a preseason game.
Well, yeah, 17 is kind of a low number for
It seemed like
the
nothing.
Flyers.
Honestly,
Yeah.
when you see that number, it seems like nothing
Well,
for
when
them.
there's a lot of repeat shots in front of the net that are
Right.
not very hard shots to block because
Right.
it's in such close
Yes.
proximity.
That's true.
That's kind of what was going on there. But that'll do it for today's show. We will be back on Monday with all the action from the Bruins game, nemesis of the week, and looking ahead to all the action next week. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. If you've got mailbag questions, let us know. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail. You can send us a message on Twitter at lockedonflyers, or you can comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. Now go check out Locked On NHL, where local experts keep you updated daily on all the biggest storylines ahead of the season. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great weekend, everyone.